So how many books did you read this year? Was it a lot? What did you read? I feel like I read so much this year. Since deciding to start this channel, I've put more of a focus on my reading, but apparently compared to the book community at large, my reading numbers are very low. I read 25 books this year, which for me is a lot. I don't know how some of these people read 50 to 100 books in 1 year. How? I don't know. I'm a slow reader. I also like to read really thick fantasy books. I also work full-time and I'm a mom, so there's that. So if you'd like to stick around for this wrap-up video and hear what I have read this year, here we go. I started this year off with a reread of The Lord of the Rings. This was before deciding to start a YouTube channel. I was reading it just for fun because I love them. What a great way to start the year. As you can probably tell, I am a Lord of the Rings fan. I love this tapestry. This was a birthday gift for my 33rd birthday, the same age Frodo was when the Fellowship of the Ring starts. And I don't have too much to say about the Lord of the Rings as a whole for this wrap-up video, because you have either read it and enjoyed it, or you want to read it and are afraid to start because of the time commitment, or you've heard it's dry or hard to get into. I don't think it's as dry or hard to get into as some people say, and I watched a great YouTube video from The Book and Drink saying how you should actually watch the movies first before reading the books, and I kind of agree with him on this one, because if you read the books first, there is so much in the Fellowship of the Ring that's not in the movie that you'll just be frustrated going, they left that out. Where's Tom Bombadil? What about the Barrow-wights? They're not even there. But if you watch the movies first, you'll get a good feel for the world, for the characters, and then when you go to read the books, you'll just get some extra details to fill it in and make it more flavorful. I don't usually rate books. Should I give them stars? I'm gonna say 4 stars, because nothing's perfect. I read one nonfiction book this year called The Art of World Building by Randy Ellefson. He also has a podcast, and if you are at all interested in the art of world building, whether for writing, storytelling, D&D, whatever, I highly suggest these. I quite enjoyed what I learned from them. And I believe he also gives lots of tools to go along with what he teaches you. And learning more about the art of writing and just what goes into making a world that someone has built be good. I have so much more appreciation now when I read a fantasy book. Fantasy worlds are all made up. Somebody had to think of all the things that go into it. And I just have so much more appreciation for that now. I read Elantris. I went to this used book sale before everything shut down from COVID, and I found a few Brandon Sanderson books. And I feel like I read Sanderson in kind of the wrong order, because I started with The Way of Kings. Great. Amazing book, highly recommend it. Then I read Mistborn, which was written earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I probably like The Way of Kings better. And then I read Elantris, one of his earlier works, maybe the first published one, I think. And I was like, oh, this is where he started. So I kind of saw his backward growth and just how much he has grown as an author from Elantris to the Stormlight Archive. He uses a lot more words in his books now. Plus, he has just grown and become such a better writer from where he started. Brandon Sanderson. Did I say that? I think I did. Okay, next. This year I read 2 more books from the Wheel of Time. I read The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn. So I'm up to book 3 out of 15. This series is such a huge undertaking. I don't know when I will ever finish. I also haven't made any YouTube content on these books yet. I don't know why. I should have. There's lots of good characters and I love making character study videos. But just so you know for the future, there will be Wheel of Time content coming. And these are just good classic fantasy books. If you like classic high fantasy, you'll probably like these. Oh, and there's a TV show coming. So if you plan on watching that TV show, it's a great time to start getting into the Wheel of Time. I read Little Women for the first time this year. I had never read it before. I'm in my 30s. But I'm kind of glad I didn't read it as a young woman, because there's a lot of old-fashioned, not very feminist ideas about how girls and women and wives should behave that now as an older woman I was able to look at and just kind of take with a grain of salt and go, oh, you know, that's a great idea in theory, I guess, but that's not the way that I want to be as a woman. But there's a reason that this book is a classic. It's a very well done book. It made me cry. I would definitely read it again and read the ones that come after it. Oh, I read Harry Potter again. For the second time in my life. I rebelled for a long time against reading these books in the first place. I was the target age for these books as they were coming out, but everybody was reading them and there was so much hype around them that I was like, I don't want to read these. I don't care. And so it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was like, you know, I like fantasy books. I like magic. I'll give these a try. And then I read all 7 of them pretty quickly, thoroughly enjoyed them. But the first time I read them was before I became a teacher. This year, when I reread them again, I had such a new perspective on these books because I wasn't seeing things as much from the kids' perspective as from all these professors' perspectives. And I have so much more respect for the teachers of Hogwarts now. They have a hard job. Imagine having students that can hex each other whenever they want. Yeah, I'd much rather be a Muggle teacher. The Mistborn trilogy. I had read the first Mistborn book and not finished the trilogy, and then I went for so long I needed to refresh myself on the first book before I could finish the trilogy, and oh boy, roller coaster of emotions. If you have read these books, you know that the ending is like a little bit mind-blowing. There is no way I could have seen that ending coming. These are just fantastic books anyway, but you're not going to be able to predict how it ends, and that is really nice and really cool. I might have chosen to end it differently, but I am at peace with the ending. I can accept it. It's okay. The more I think about it, the more the ending makes sense and is good. In the moment when I finished the book, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I've come to terms with it now. I reread the first Dune book over the summertime in excitement and preparation for the movie, which is now coming out next October. So far, as of what we know right now, I am so excited for this movie. I think it is going to be such a good rendition of this book. The casting looks great. Everything I've seen from shots from the movie look amazing. I think this will be a version that does the book justice. It was one of only 2 science fiction books I read this year. I leaned way more into the fantasy than the sci-fi, which is fine. I like both. I probably prefer fantasy. But now because of the movie being delayed, you have plenty of time to go pick up Dune and read it before the movie comes out. Okay, the next one I read I have to show you because it's so beautiful. Look at this. Look at this ship and this storm. How pretty is that? The Queen of Storms by Raymond E. Feist. I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed. The first book, King of Ashes, got me excited for this series. I think it's going to be a trilogy. And then when I saw the cover art for Queen of Storms, I was even more excited. But then when I went to read it, it was not as exciting as I had hoped it would be. For me, Feist is a little hit and miss. I love his Magician Riftwar Saga books, but I've also read a couple of his that are just not as great, so kind of depends on the book of his. I wouldn't just say he's a great author. I would say sometimes he writes great books. And Queen of Storms could have suffered a little bit because it's a middle book, and those can be hard to write and give them their own beginning and ending to make it feel like a completed book. But also, I didn't think the writing was as amazing as it could have been. But I'm happy to have it on my shelf because it's so pretty. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, I was really excited about. I was looking forward to this book so much because, as you can see on my shelf, I am a Paolini fan, and I was excited to see what he would do with To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. And I'm gonna be honest here, it's a good book, but the way he describes it as being his love letter to the sci-fi genre, I feel like is kind of an excuse for saying, I put every science fiction cliche I could think of into my book, but it's okay because it's my love letter. There's a lot of cliches, and it's an enjoyable book, not a masterpiece. That's fine. I still enjoyed reading it. If you're a sci-fi fan, you will probably enjoy it. And in preparation for reading this beautiful book, can you see how pretty this one is? Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I read the first 3 books in the Stormlight Archive. Again, I reread them. So glad I did, because there is a lot going on in these books. So many details to keep track of. I would not have remembered some pretty important things if I had not reread them again. My channel is a little bit Stormlight Archive heavy right now, and it's going to stay that way for a little bit because I have been reading these books for so long, and there's so many great characters to make videos of. I'm going to try to intersperse Stormlight Archive videos with other videos, so I'm not just a Brandon Sanderson channel, but it's what I've been reading lately, so I'm making a lot of those videos right now. And these are fantastic books. They are very long. There is a lot of detail and world building and relationship building, but If you have the time for a book that is over 1,000 pages and you like the fantasy genre and great characterization, you will enjoy these books. And if, like me, you are a super slow reader, it might take you a whole month to read one of them, which is fine. It took me at least a month, maybe longer, to read Oathbringer, but I enjoyed every bit of it. I am, however, taking a little break before getting to Rhythm of War. I just need to cleanse my palate a little bit. It gives more people time to read Rhythm of War before I start making spoilery videos about it. But overall, I highly recommend these books to anybody who is into the fantasy genre. Oh, and the 25th book that I read this year was Prince Caspian by C.S. Lewis. You are never too old for a children's book, and if you have not read the Chronicles of Narnia, it's not too late to start. So that is my impressive list of 25 books that I read this year. I don't think I would try to choose a favorite out of this list of books. I enjoyed all my reading this year, and now that I have this channel and I have a direction to go with my reading, I think I'm really going to enjoy my reading next year. There will be less rereading and more reading new books, which I'm looking forward to. I will be doing a couple of buddy reads from Elliot Brooks' channel, I think starting in January. If you guys have suggestions, I'm always open to them. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribe and come back for more of my normal character study content, which is what I really love to do. And here's to hoping 2021 is a more fantastic year than 2020 ever was. Subscribe to this channel, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye!